what was that
Was
like? I
that
mean,
like?
you you were doing, you're pretty far along. You're like, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and then COVID happens. What's that experience?
So it was really weird because, like, we started off the year pretty normal. We're like, yeah, like we were just going to classes our fall semester. We were doing, how we were. And then March hit, and then the world basically shut down because I know that we were out at first. We're like, oh, we're going to only be out for like a week while we like investigate what's going on. And then we like never came back since leaving. And so that was really weird. And trying to navigate like what we were supposed to do in college classes were really funky because every professor had like a different idea. And I think at the time, like they were like, whatever you had assigned, like you're just doing now. And so I feel like sometimes we might have missed out on a lot of crucial learning because we got cut short from our college classes, being like, whatever I assigned, you have to complete, but we can't assign anything new. And I know like it was probably different for 2021 because they started off the year also in COVID. But for us, like we kind of just got short stopped. And it kind of sucked because like, we missed out a lot of like events towards the end of the year. And so graduation was really weird. And they were like single person graduations for the most part. And we didn't really get to see anybody. And then we couldn't also go anywhere. So it was just like a really weird time. Like we all still graduated and we got through it, but I think it was just kind of more disappointing that it's like we couldn't do anything more. um but like, which is also not the fault of anybody. Like, the world shuts down, we kind of can't do anything
Right.
about it. But I think sometimes like as a class, like maybe we're a bit more like sad that we didn't get to do a lot of like the fun end of the year things. um but I think there's been talks recently like what we should do about, you know, kind of bringing back some of the things that we might have missed. And like, we just got like winter formal because we did that previous years, but more like the big stuff. I think graduation was kind of the worst, like, kind of the
100%.
sad part. Yeah.
You lose prom. Uh, your graduation is weird. A lot of people, probably close to half the people, graduated with individual ceremonies in the
Yeah.
lobby. For those who did brave it, we were over at Carolina Forest High School gym, which nobody's ever been to. Uh, Trying to socially distance. Everybody only got two tickets, uh, and everybody's masked.
Yeah.
Horrible, horrible stuff. But like you said, you don't know what to do, so you just get through it. And that's all you can do.
Take it day by day.
Yep. All right, so you graduate. What's next?
So I went to Coastal. I went originally for a biology major degree, and then I stopped my first semester and switched to computer science because it was COVID. So college was basically still shut down. So I wasn't getting a lot out of my biology classes as I should have. And then the world reopened, so I actually switched back to biology my second year. And then I got into research with one of the professors at the school here. And I started doing research with her in 2022, that spring. And then I've been here ever since doing research with her. But I graduated from Coastal 2023 because I had a lot of the beginning classes, but I had to take all my science classes. So I graduated in 2023, and then I took a year off, but I was a full time research assistant in the research lab I work in right now. And then I'm still doing it, but I'm also going to start the master's program here in the fall with my same PI. Um, and so that's kind of where we're at now. But we do research with polycystic kidney disease, and we work with fruit flies, itty bitty fruit flies that we study a bunch of compounds on. We study like behavioral assays. But our main thing is that we do potential cyst reducing compounds on polycystic kidney disease model flies.
That is very, very specific.
Yeah.
I think people don't really realize that too. Like in the research field, it's like, no, seriously, it's going to be really, really specific because of the implications. Uh, just has to be. Uh, all right, so you're a researcher. It
Yeah,
looks like you love it.
I do. I really do enjoy it. I stuck with it since 2022, so I better now. I first like started because I cold emailed my professor, and I was just like, I was told in one of my classes that we should get into research because if you're biology, you can like do medical, you could do academic, you can do whatever. Um, and I was like, well, I got told by a professor at the class like you should start doing research, and I was like, okay. So I cold emailed my professor now, and I was just like, "Hey, I was told like that I'm supposed to be doing research, and I don't know what to do, but your stuff seems cool." So we got together, and then there was like one student at the time, and so we met, and she was like, "Well, I work with fruit flies," and I'm like, "You can work with fruit flies? That's weird. Like, what do you mean?" Because when we think about science, we think about like mouse models and human studies and stuff, and I was like, "You can do that with fruit flies," and she's like, "Yeah," and so they study like the specific diseases and I was like, that's crazy. And so we can micro dissect fruit flies. And that was a big thing. The first thing that I learned was like, we micro dissect fruit flies. Like, how do you do that? And you have to like look through a microscope and use very fine tip tweezers and all the works. And so now I can dissect fruit flies. But it was like one of the like craziest things. And then I had to start reading a lot of literature before I got to do a lot of things. And so like my professor that I first met, she like made my love for like research science. And so I'm like, I don't want to do medical school. I don't want to do like dentistry or nothing. I was like, I want to stay in like discovery research. Um, so that's why I mainly stayed through the school and now I'm doing masters instead. But um, she got me really into it. And now I've gone to like multiple scientific conferences. I've got to do posters. I've done summer research programs. I have 3 publications right now on what we do. Um, and so like it was just like a random email one day being like, "Hey, I think this is cool." And she was like, "Well, let me just teach you everything I got." And I'm like, "All right, let's do it." And so I've been like in love with it ever since. It's super cool.
Jay, a cold email to just a professor. That's how this all started.
Oh yeah, I literally emailed her like one random day, and I was just like, "Hey, you do cool things. I like really like bugs in general too, but I was just like, you do cool things. I want to learn." And she's like, "Well, I'll teach you if you want to learn." And I was
Mm,
like, "Well, that's perfect. Let's do it."
I love
Uh,
that. Love that so much. And so often people don't really think like, oh, well, they won't read it or fruit flies. But like send an email. What's the
yeah,
worst they can say? I mean, you may get ghosted or something, but like,
right,
what's the worst they can say? And more than likely, if you're in a really specific thing, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, somebody who wants to learn. This is cool.
exactly.
Uh, that's awesome. So congrats on that. Uh, and congrats on the research. Because that seems really, really cool. And for a lot of people who do biology, they don't really think like, oh, go the research route. Actually, go do the research. It doesn't have to lead to different things. Uh, it can be research to research. Love
Oh
it.
yeah. I didn't even realize that was a thing when I first started the biology. I was like, you have to go to medical school or you have to do this. And it's like, no, there's this whole other world that just like opens up if you like think about it. And it's pretty cool. Scary, but it's cool.
I bet. All right. So we'll kind of close out on these last two questions, and it's the ones I usually close most of these out with. What advice do you give the eighth grader who's about to get the acceptance letter, who may be kind of on the fence about this opportunity? Question two, what advice do you give the senior who's just about to finish up?
Okay. So what I would say to an eighth grader is that like yes, you can do a traditional route through high school, but I think like the best idea of doing early college or doing college early in general is that you can learn so much so early and get ahead because a lot of people end up graduating from high school and they don't have any idea about what they want to do, which is, completely fair. But at least if you start with a program like this, you can start to get some of these ideas early. And now it's all about you have to know 10 years ahead of time what you want to do. And that's more of like the newer generation kind of thing. It's like you just have to know what you're going to do 10 years out. But it's going to be scary, it's going to be stressful, but it really does help you get ahead because you can learn a lot of the skills that people will flunk out their first year with because you have to do things a certain way and you learn your best like studying skills because in 8th grade you don't really study that much. People aren't usually too worried about studying first tests or exams or whatever, but you will learn the skills that you need to excel, because you don't even have to go to college. You can do trade school work, you can do special interest. We had a student in our class who was really into baking and things, so you could do all these different fields that you might not even know about. And it's the easiest way to put yourself ahead in your future of whatever you want to do, or give yourself the extra time to figure out what you want to do, because you're not going to have all the answers and you can change it a million times anyway. But the worst you're going to do is learn some classes and have some college credit. Like, the worst you're going to do. Like, you can always give yourself the upper hand. And if you don't take it seriously, that's your own thing. But like, the worst you're going to do is get ahead. So it's always worth taking the opportunity and learning from professors who actually care about what you're going to do, care who you are and how you're doing. Because you always get asked by any of the like people at early college, like, "Oh, how was your day? Like, how are you doing?" If someone notices that you're upset, they're gonna ask. Like, if they see you struggling, they're going to make the extra effort. So even if you take just like high school classes at early college, which you should, do the college too, but like, you're gonna be nurtured, and you should take the risk, take the opportunity to learn, because you're gonna do better. And there's like a lot of things that you wouldn't learn in normal high schools. A lot of high schools are really, really big, and like, you're just overlooked because you're one person in a class of like 40. But with a small cohort, like, everyone knows each other, and that comes with a lot of benefits. But for the senior about to graduate, if you still don't know what you're doing, that's okay. You can change your mind if you're going to college. You can change your major a million times. Hopefully by then you probably have some idea. But um, just know that you can also take a gap year if you need to. Take a gap year before you start college, like, again. Um, Look at all the schools that you're offered to go to. Look at the classes that will look at the schools that will take all your classes too. That's a big thing, because sometimes you just have to start over. So like, definitely take a look at the kind of schools that will take what kind of classes, and like, just know that it's gonna be all right. Because like, yeah, we had a weird pandemic that kind of just ruined the world for a bit, but we still end up all right. We still made it through. So just take a breath and just live day by day and try to figure out what's going on, because you'll make it somewhere eventually. So just take your time and figure it out.
Great advice on both fronts. Jay, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you.
If you'll hang out on the call after I stop the recording, I'm gonna ask you a couple things too.
Okay.
Uh, but awesome, Jay, from class of 2020.